Hello again. Today we're going somewhere you may know. I guess you could say it's a celebrity hangout. But I think it's also a place for the common man. Perhaps even as democratic as a hot dog. Any guesses? Okay, but first a little history. Opened in 1997, I think of Balthazar as one of the oldest new restaurants in New York. The city around it has changed so much, and yet Balthazar has pretty much remained exactly the same. It's interesting to go back even one step further and see, though not the same, 80 Spring Street was still really not that different. I like Ben Leventhal, the founder of Resi's, writing about Balthazar here. Now, Balthazar is a massive operation, but ultimately the credit for creating this Soho Shangri-La goes to one man, Keith McNally. Keith is a character. I'm not here to give his full life story. You can read that in his memoir if you want. What I will say is that McNally clearly has a knack for creating restaurants that are tied into the zeitgeist. With Balthazar, it feels connected to New York's becoming, as Michael Bloomberg once stated, a luxury product. Anyways, there's a million more things I could say. Let's see how the food is. The meal started off great. I was given a complimentary glass of sparkling wine for being a solo diner. I didn't know this was a thing. These table coverings are apparently famous. The restaurant goes through about 1,000 of them every day, and they're sourced directly from France. Though the restaurant gets phone calls every day asking where they get them, they've yet to say. This is what you see when you're first handed the menu. Looking at the cocktails, I saw some stuff I liked, and some stuff I didn't like. Overall, I thought the prices seemed a bit high. I definitely did want to get some bread, as they make it fresh, and it's something they're known for. In addition to the bread, there was one more thing I knew I had to order. This French onion soup is consistently rated one of the city's best, and it just doesn't get better than peasant food on a cold day. The soup was the perfect temperature, and the broth was incredibly rich and salty, exactly how it should be. The amount of Gruyere cheese on this is comical, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Sadly, sometimes if something is too cheesy, it makes it difficult to eat, but that was not the case here. One side note, if I was going to complain about anything, would be the pre-refrigerated ramekins the butter was served in. I know it's ridiculous, but it was causing me to mutilate this beautiful bread. Anyways, I was getting thirsty now. You know, I love some New York City tap water. There were other things I wanted to try. This was the Vesper Martini.
3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over ice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
I really appreciate how cold the martini actually arrived, considering the busyness of the restaurant and my distance from the bar area. Ultimately, a martini is a classic drink that any self-respecting restaurant should be able to execute, and Balthazar delivered. Okay, so before our next course, I'm 36 years old now and I've consumed liquid, so I think you know what's coming next. And we're back. So I ended up going with the petite steak. There are actually some not so great reviews for this online. The server informed me that the cut was a non-aged Wagyu top round. Not that I was expecting filet mignon, but from my experience, a petite cut of meat sits right next to the filet mignon, still on the tenderloin. That said, I really wasn't worrying too much about this. As I cut into my steak, it looked juicy and cooked properly. Though the steak appeared to be cooked just right, I was left a little disappointed by the texture of the meat, veering at times on the dreaded chewy side. Not to worry though, these fries were so good, and the martini was really hitting the spot. Still, I kinda can't get over the texture of this steak. I know there's a béarnaise sauce for dipping, and that helped, but your steak should never have to rely on the sauce. Now this wasn't a bad steak by any means, just a little underwhelming for how much praise this restaurant gets. Well, that kind of wraps things up for me here. My total, including tax and tip, came to just over $100. Even if the steak had been worse than it was, this is still such a fun, bustling place to come to. And honestly, to be completely fair to old Keith here, that steak was about on par with anything you would get in France. Maybe it just needed salt.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for the next one.